Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. City Council of Louisville, Colorado. Regular agenda, regular meeting tonight, July 9th, 2024. Can I get a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Dickinson? Councilmember Fahey?
Here.
Mayor Lay?
Here.
Councilmember Bierman?
Here.
Councilmember Hefner?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Kern? Here.
Okay. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're now at a point in the, on the agenda where we have public comments on items not on the agenda. If there is a matter that you'd like to speak about, whether you're on Zoom or you are here, just go to our city clerk at the end of the dais, and if you'd fill out a card and give it to her, she'll call your name and you can speak at the lectern. Please let us know what city you're from, and you can speak for up to 3 minutes. If you can point to somebody who's given their time to you, you can speak for up to 6 minutes. You don't have to speak the maximum amount of time that you are given, but you're welcome to do that. And the same is true for people online. If there's somebody that wants to pool time, you can pool up to 6 minutes. So the other thing I think that's important is, we're trying to kind of maintain civility in sometimes uncivil times. And as I say, usually in these meetings, we would rather you not clap or holler because it tends to discourage people from coming forward. And we want to encourage wide participation. So with that, do we have any people who would like to speak on matters not on the agenda?
The first person I have is Tim Stalker. He'll be followed by Christian Dino. Can you turn on the microphone, please?
Tim Stalker from Louisville. I have a comment about the consent item E, about the contract for the roadway and drainage plan review. What I'm curious about, and I hope the council's curious about, is to why that proposal is only for a roadway review and not the drainage plan review. All of the proposals put forward a bid for both of those, and yet the one the staff is recommending is only for the roadway. So I have questions about that, and I hope you do too. That's all I have.
Thank you, Tim.
Christian Dino to be followed by George Colbert.
My name's Christian Dino, live at 967 Eldorado Lane, Louisville, Cornerstone neighborhood, only inlet and outlet off of Viapia. I know there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of months in regards to the restriping of Viapia. It went forth. It's now one lane, 25-foot wide lane, is at least how the cars treat it. They seem to have sped up after the restriping. They pass in the bike lane. They pass in the hatched area next to the medians, creating dangerous occurrences. The purpose of restriping it was to slow traffic down and make it safer. That has failed. Yesterday is proof. I want to be respectful to the family of the person our community is mourning after yesterday, as well as, another accident that almost involved a couple of small children. I mean, 2 accidents in one day, one of them a fatality. A month after this restriping plan that's supposed to make it safer and slow down cars, 300 of us came to that open house and spoke up against this. Our pleas were ignored. You went forth with it anyway. It's time to fix this before anyone else gets hurt or dies.
Thank you, Christian.
George Colbert, to be followed by Lisa Scott.
Hi, George Colbert, Louisville, live right off of Tyler. I'm going to pull time with my wife if I go over. I don't think I will, but make it a little bit passionate. Via Appia is a disaster, especially where I live, right off of Tyler. So everywhere from the rec center down to Tyler has gotten faster. It's gotten more dangerous. I've had a number of near misses myself. The most recent one was this weekend when I was doing some yard work. I was coming down the one lane that's available. The car behind me got upset because I wasn't going fast enough and pulled into the bike lane. Well, it used to be a right turn lane, and past me had to have been going a minimum of 50 miles per hour. I was going the speed limit. They flew past me. I was already, had my blinker on, and was about to make my right-hand turn onto Tyler. If I would have clipped this car at all, I would have sent it into somebody's backyard. This is just one example. I've seen a number of cars pass people in the yellow as well. I'll give you another example. A couple of weeks after the striping, I was coming down via Appia. An RTD bus was pulled over on the bus stop at Pine, and then decided to pull all the way through the bike lane into the one lane that I was in. I had nowhere to go but into the yellow spot that used to be another lane. There was a crew working in the median a few hundred yards down the road. If that had been a little bit further, I could have hurt somebody. Okay, it's not working. I was at this same meeting with 300 people that we spoke passionately about this. We were completely ignored. The data that was presented was a joke. It would not pass the muster in my industry at all. It's very frustrating. I really think you need to listen to the citizens on this, and you need to make a change as quickly as you can. It is not safe. I run across via Appia almost every day. I'm having to wave my hands to get people's attention to let them know that I'm coming. And already I've seen another car, before I've even entered out in there, another car try to pass the car that was going to brake for me. They didn't. They luckily saw me. But all it takes is one person. Via Appia is more dangerous. You've got to do something about this. I'm begging you.
Thank you, George.
Lisa Swift, to be followed by Shelley Meyer.
Hello. Oh, sorry. I'm Lisa Swift. I'm at 1212 Lincoln Avenue in Louisville, Colorado. And I'm also speaking on behalf of the vote for restriping via Appia, and what a tragedy it's been for our community. I personally am a mountain biker, and I helped coach the Monarch mountain bike team for many years. And my son is an avid cyclist. He's a semi-pro cyclist, and this is extremely difficult for everyone who is now a community member to ride on. They've found it much more dangerous, much scarier to ride on, a lot harder to cross. I think it's awful that the tragedies that have happened have just been disheartening. It's tragic. And really, I guess my question is, I know you all have the best interests of the community at heart, but I don't feel like you're listening to the community. Just like the gentleman before said, we have elected officials that are supposed to be representing our behalf. And I don't feel like very many people feel represented right now. So any steps that you can take to correct this would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you.
Shelley Meyer to be followed by Cynthia Korn.
Hi, Shelley Meyer. I'm at 1919 Quail Court. I actually have a personal story that I'd like to share on how dangerous the Via Appia is. My son was hit a couple years ago at the Eisenhower going down the hill, somebody going 50 miles per hour. I advocated, I'm the one that got the light in at Eisenhower. And I just think this Via Appia thing is obviously accidents waiting to happen. I don't know why you can't just put a light in like the Eisenhower. I know it's more expensive. It's way more safe. People in our neighborhood are actually crossing now where before we felt like we were playing Frogger. I feel like Via Appia is now that. I also have a son that is friends with the Swifts, the one that was hit. None of us feel safe going on that Via Appia now. So I would also beg that you guys would change that sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia Korn to be followed by Sherry Summer.
Good evening, Cynthia Korn, Louisville, Colorado. First, thank you all for serving our community. I'm going to take a little bit different tact. I've held off. I've had a few conversations over the last couple of years about advisory boards and the Public Works Department. And it's time to come forward. I wish I would have come forward with the idea more formally sooner. But given the budget that it has, and I didn't look up the numbers, I figured I'll look at the Finance Committee notes. At some point I may comment again in the future. But it is a very large part of our operating budget, and it does not provide updates to any advisory board. I just finished my open government training for the board I serve on. And, you know, it talks about collaboration with the community. And it's hard to collaborate. It's not a judgment of staff. It's just saying we don't have the mechanisms in place to provide adequate community input to public works. And it's beyond time. With all the construction projects, how do we follow our guidance, our city guidance of collaboration with community, with what's going with RTR, with Coal Creek Crossing, with 42 Highway, massive programs. Even the Enclave redoing of the water there, I mean, the list of construction projects that Public Works has going on, and then with the restriping, I thought that when that got approved, it was gonna happen in the fall, which wasn't gonna make any sense because then you do this behavior change right before there's gonna be snow. And then all of a sudden there's an acceleration and this striping has to happen now? Well, it begs the question of follow the money. I'm not saying there's anything sinister. I'm just saying any layperson looking at this says, why do we have to do this now? And that's been a question I've had for a while. When the pendulums have swung in our town over the last 15 years, the biggest divisions in our town have been when the pace of change is too fast. The reason you got more environmentalists on the board about 10 years ago is because development came hard, you had your path through planning, straight to council, rubber stamped. The community spoke up and said, whoa, no, and they even won a referendum vote. We are on track based on how this council is currently responding to community input. We are on track for another pendulum swing. So I'm hearing it, I don't want to be here carrying this kind of message because I actually think most of you are solutions oriented, but why did these striping, so many people spoke up and said, these are solutions with no problem. Representative Kern, Representative Bierman,
Wrap
thank
it
you
up,
for
please.
voting against those. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sherry Summer to be followed by Mark Cathcart.
Good evening, I'm Sherry Summer. I see things differently on this. I think change has come to Louisville because there's a lot of change in traffic patterns. And our Public Works Department is doing their best to find solutions that will be effective. And I listened to the meetings and I read the packet, and this is not a haphazard thing that went on. There was a very robust discussion at council. I heard the different opinions. People were very thoughtful, and we're just doing our best. And what I'd like to suggest right now, I know that there will be further work with the police department, because that's one arm of there's enforcement, there's education, there's infrastructure. I know that our staff is really great and they will be working on these things. But in the meantime, just if anybody's within the sound of my voice, I just really think it's important that we each do our part. I'm not saying that's the only solution, but I think in a small town, we have a really good opportunity. And that is we all care, we have an identity, and if we all take collective action, do we all go the speed limit? Do we all stop at 0? Do we all watch? That could make a very big difference. And I'm not downplaying anything. And I just think this would be a sign of respect for the incidents that happened yesterday. And I really hope people will think about that, and I certainly am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mark Cathcart to be followed by Tamar Krantz.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff. Thank you for being here tonight. I am going to change the subject, although I'm inclined to request that you do stick with the striping as it is now. I've always said that that road is dangerous and too fast. The fact that drivers drive like idiots is really not a problem with the striping. I actually called in tonight to ask you if there was any kind of report on the 2012-2013 comprehensive plan. I understand staff are working on the new comprehensive plan. For my part, I know it's a lot of work. I was disappointed in today that I couldn't find any kind of report card, even a traffic light card against the prior comp plan to show what had been done, what was successful, what wasn't successful, basic, management functions in terms of, why weren't these things done that were on the comp plan before? It's an expensive staff report. We're going to spend months on it. If that report doesn't exist, can I ask the mayor and city council to ask staff to at least do a flyby report on the 2012-2013 comp plan? Otherwise, we're just going to dream up the same ideas and they're going to fail for the same reasons and we won't know why. Thank you very much. Thank you for representing Louisville.
Thank you, Mark.
Next is Tamar Krantz.
Hi, this is Tamar Krantz from Louisville, and I was going to call in because I wanted to request that you take item E off of the consent agenda, and but I sent you several emails explaining why, and I hope that you were able to read the packet addendum. So I've been inspired by my fellow residents who just spoke up just now that I think I feel more passionately wanting to reiterate some of the things that were just said. I love the idea that Mark Cathcart just spoke about of giving a status report on the previous comprehensive plan. I really like what Cherry Summer said, about, just as a message to all of our community, that we need to slow down. We're a small town, be careful when driving. And then I really love the idea that Cynthia Korn mentioned about having an advisory board to advise some of the public works projects, because that was what I was originally going to call in about, is because some of the decisions with Red Tail Ridge are kind of being made outside of the public involvement process because of our unusual situation with the grading happening before the final subdivision plat is approved. I feel like that would be just a perfect solution, that come October, that we add a new board. I don't know what the precedents are for this, but it seems like a really good idea to have a Public Works Advisory Board. So thanks for taking my comment, and thanks for everything you do. And finally, I don't know, I guess, no, my next comment is on something on the agenda, so I will chime in again if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Next is Larry Donner.
Yes, my name is Larry Donner. I live at 1020 Willow Place in Louisville, and I'm calling with regard to Via Appia. Prior to the vote, there was a Ward 2 meeting, and there was little to no support for the restriping. Council was given an alternative plan that looked like it would have worked very well, especially if you put a hawk signal at LaPorte. To me, it was just a solution in search of a problem, and I'm not sure it's effective at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any others? Okay. Thank you for,
I'm sorry I didn't get on the list.
please.
Mike Perkins, 229 Vulcan Street. I did get here a little late, so I'm not sure what everybody did say, but the ones that I did hear speak about Via Appia, most reflect what my views are. It felt like I wasn't being listened to. I didn't get involved early enough in the plan, early enough in the process to really participate, except for I went to the rec center, citizen meeting, and other than maybe 2 people, everyone there, and there was roughly 200 people that I recall, were skeptical or opposed or asked that some other mechanism like the blinking lights be put in, and that we didn't feel that it's appropriate to take something that's supposed to marshal traffic through down to 1 lane would be effective. And I made comments that I felt that, it's a solution looking for a problem, or vice versa. And I didn't get the impression that we were being listened to. It felt like we want your input, but we're going to do it anyway. And it felt like the whole meeting was not for citizen input. It was more like, this is what we're doing, and just so you know. But it was like a 3-hour meeting of getting input, and none of us felt, at least my wife and several others that I spoke to, just didn't feel like our concerns were being heard. Our ideas were set aside because they were too expensive. Well, there was been a lot of stuff done, like the medians have been re-architected, and I watched that whole process every time I drove by, and I just didn't see the purpose. I don't know what the cost was, but that, along with the restriping, along with all this stuff, could have paid for maybe at least 1 light, maybe 2, and just keep adding to those lights, because I feel that those are going to be the things that are going to be effective the most. Instead of giving pedestrians maybe a false sense of safety, that we get used to stopping at these lights, and the enforcement can be around people stopping at these lights, and maybe
Wrap it up, please.
reminding people, pedestrians and cyclists, about their role in this whole system. Thank you very much.
Any other public comments? Thank you very much for showing up tonight and sharing your views with us. The next excuse me, item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Well, before we do that,
Yeah, I have a conflict of interest with regards to item E on the consent agenda, so I'm going to step out momentarily while you all vote on this item.
that's item E is an elephant.
E is an elephant.
Okay, thank you. Just as background, when one of us believes that under the rules we have conflict of interest, it is the right procedure to declare it and then to literally leave the room and not participate in the discussion that follows. So, all right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Got council informational comments and pertinent items not on the agenda. Any of those for the moment? Seeing none. City manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to provide the opportunity for the chief to update us.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to provide some updates on the incident that occurred yesterday evening. Yesterday, about 5:45 in the evening, the Louisville PD responded to a traffic-related accident involving a pedestrian near the intersection of Sagebrush Way and Via Appia Way. The vehicle was traveling eastbound on Via Appia, and a pedestrian crossing the roadway. The two collided at or near a marked crosswalk at Sagebrush Way. Police, fire personnel, and paramedics arrived and immediately rendered aid to the pedestrian, who ultimately passed away on scene. The driver did remain at the scene, cooperated with the investigation. We had personnel from the Boulder County Coroner's Office that also responded, and they have notified the next of kin. Additionally, we did have Boulder County victims advocates as well as Louisville Police Department co-responders respond to the scene, provide assistance and support to the victim's family as well as the driver. The details of these events are allegations, and those involved are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. The accident does remain under investigation. It may take several weeks to gather the relevant information and data as our investigating officers try to recreate what occurred and determine the most likely cause of the accident. I do want to acknowledge the response of our police, firefighters, and paramedics, as well as victims advocates and co-responders for the work that they did yesterday during a very difficult and tragic situation. On behalf of the Louisville Police Department, we do express our heartfelt concern and sympathy for everybody that's been affected by this tragic incident.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate the report, and I think all of us appreciate the level of professionalism of the first responders to this. I did want to say one word, that a death in a traffic accident diminishes all of us, and we have the person who died, and her husband, and her daughter, and the neighbors, and the friends, and the wider community. And I think it is, to me, a testament to two things. One, that life is so incredibly precious, and humans are so vulnerable. And the other, need protecting. The other thing is what I consider to be the indomitable spirit of a community that rallies. And my understanding from yesterday was that the neighbors surrounded the husband of the deceased and helped him up the hill to their home. And that speaks volumes for the kind of community that they have in their neighborhood and that I think we have plenty of in Louisville. My heart, and I think our hearts, go out to him especially and his daughter, their daughter, and to all of those who are affected. And we wish an appropriate and speedy enough investigation and to learn more about that as the time comes. But that's not really the issue right now. The issue right now is that people are hurting in the community and people are wanting answers. And there are some folks at the center of this whose lives changed utterly yesterday. And I do appreciate all of the co-responders and the police for their care in managing all of it. And we would be remiss if we weren't really mindful of all the circumstances around here and all of the people who are in pain. So, thanks. Our first regular item of business is item A, which is, bear with me for just a moment. Separation or approval of separation agreement and mutual release. I don't know that there's a presentation by City Attorney Kelly or the special counsel in the matter. Do we have that?
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't planning to make a presentation, but if you would like for me to, for the record, go through what's in the council communication or the salient facts or terms of the agreement. And as you noted, special counsel Marilee Langhoff is here if there are any questions that the council has.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure that's necessary. I think the public and the council and staff all have the staff report and the separation agreement itself. And if I'm remembering correctly, were there two versions of the separation agreement, or just the one in the packet that we have here?
There's just the one version.
Okay.
There were a few typographical errors that were discovered after the packet was published, nothing substantive, so those have been corrected.
Okay. Good. So all of it is in order. This is a follow-on to several executive sessions the council has had under the city charter. They are, and I think have been followed to the letter, and there's not an awful lot that can or should be said right now about any of us, but that process, I think, is one that I think all of us have taken very, very seriously, and we bring this agreement before us to city and for approval. So if there are any questions by council, now's the time. Okay. Seeing none, Do we have a motion? Pardon me? Sorry about it. A public comment on this item. Okay, seeing none. Any council questions, discussion?
My only question, so this is, as of July 1st, the separation agreement states July 1st as the date, and if we pass this tonight, that agreement has been sort of agreed to by the city manager, and is this our part, and then they have a chance of reacting to what we do tonight?
So if the city council approves it tonight, then the city manager will be provided with a copy to execute. And the agreement does provide for a 7-day revocation period, which is required under federal law.
Right.
And that's after the city manager signs it.
Okay.
So there's that period of time before it truly becomes effective and before any monies would be paid by the city to the city manager.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Now we'll take a motion if anyone has one to offer.
I move that we accept, what's the right word there? Approve the separation agreement and mutual release.
Second.
Any comments? Okay. Let's take a roll call.
Mayor Lay,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bierman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dickinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Fahey,
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner,
Yes.
Councilmember Kern.
Yes.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation designating July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month. And I believe Council Member Fahey is going to read the proclamation for us, if you would.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Louisville, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education, and whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development, and whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property taxes, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction, and whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, And whereas the city of Louisville recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Louisville that July 2024 is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Louisville.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move that we accept this proclamation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good. Passes. Thank you very much. Our next item is, excuse me, ordinance number 1876, series 2024, an ordinance amending chapter 15.80.030 of the Louisville Municipal Code concerning the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code first reading, to set the public hearing on August 6th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks. Motion passes. Our next item is item D, ordinance number 1877, series 2024, an ordinance amending Title 17 of the Louisville Municipal Code concerning electric vehicle charging infrastructure, first reading, to set the public hearing also on August 6th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion passes. The next item is ordinance number 1875, series 2024, an ordinance implementing a rate increase in the emergency telephone charge. This is on for second reading. It was advertised in the Daily Camera on June 23rd, 2024. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Rafael Gutierrez, Chief of Police. On April 29th of this year, the Boulder County Sheriff Curtis Johnson sent a letter to the City Manager's office. He was acting as the chair of the Boulder Regional Emergency Telephone Service Authority, which is referred to as BRETSA. Sent a letter advising of a rate increase for the emergency telephone charge. The charge is imposed on telephone services and is a per line per month fee for phone lines in Boulder County. Based on increased costs and expenses associated with the enhanced technology and personnel through the Emergency Communications Center, BRETSA feels the increase is necessary to maintain operational effectiveness. BRETSA receives and disperses the proceeds from the emergency telephone charge to partially fund 911 services and operation of the emergency call centers in Boulder County. The rate increase is set to occur on February 1st, 2025. And it will be an increase of about 50 cents per line and an increase from the current 75-cent fee per line. The new fee imposed on February 1st, 2025 will be $1.25 per line per month. And despite the increase, the new rate will still remain below the statewide average of $1.93 per line per month. Federally subsidized lifeline services for low-income constituents is not subject to the emergency telephone charge. And the City of Louisville was a party to the 1987 intergovernmental agreement that formed the BRETSA group. And at that time, the city agreed to pass an ordinance imposing a charge on each service user within its jurisdiction. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance.
Thank you. Are there questions? Well, actually, let's wait on council questions. Let's take a first round of public comment. There's going to be 2 rounds of public comment, and that's because this is an ordinance change. And if we have public comments on this item, do we have any? We don't have any at this point. So council questions and discussion would be in order. Why don't we take questions one at a time, if anybody in the council has questions on this item? Doesn't look like it. So we'll go to a second round of public comment. Is there any interest in making any public comments concerning this item? It looks like we have one.
Larry Donner?
Yes, my name's Larry Donner. I live at 1020 Willow Place in Louisville, Colorado. I would just urge you to support this. The communication system is complex and the technology gets more expensive every day. And it benefits everyone in the county, including us. So I would just urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else? Okay, any other public comment? Okay, we'll take a, let's see, council discussion. Is there any comments on the item? I would say only that I know that this community values this particular item very highly, and I appreciate the work that's gone into bringing this item before us. It's always dragged to have to pay more for anything these days, but I am heartened by the fact that we are still way under the statewide average, and that's that speaks well. And I think we all want the best for our citizens and so forth on that. So, any other comments? I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there a motion on ordinance number 1875?
Yeah, I'd move the passage of ordinance number 1875, Series 2024, an ordinance implementing a rate increase in the emergency telephone charge.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, excuse me.
Aye.
Roll call.
That's right, it's an ordinance.
Mayor Lay?
Yes.
Councilmember Fahey?
Yes.
Councilmember Hefner?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dickinson?
Yes.
Councilmember Bierman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Kern?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Last item before us on the agenda is, it's not the last item, but it's the last one on which we give discussion, direction, or vote, is board and commission engagement request for discussion and direction. So with that, is there staff presentation?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Meredith Muth, City Clerk. Before you tonight is just a discussion direction item. It's an update to one of your work plan items, which was to broaden your engagement with the city's boards and commissions. So I'm just going to give you a quick update on the things we've done so far this year. First of all, we have resumed the practice of city council meeting with the advisory boards. So far to date, you've met with all the advisory boards except the Revitalization Commission, and that's scheduled for the end of this month. In addition to that, staff has been working with the board liaisons to keep all the liaisons informed about work the city council's doing. We have asked the liaisons to work with their boards to give staff recommendations for the budget. You'll see that in the upcoming budget process as well. Staff is also working on a volunteer appreciation event for the fall. It's not just for boards and commissions, it's for all of our city volunteers, but it is another chance for you guys to meet with your board and commission members and thank them for their work and to talk about mutual areas of interest. We've done some administrative work, clarifying some things on rules of procedure, and then if you remember, we changed some board names along the way to clarify some things. So that's what we've done to date. This evening, we're basically here to ask you if you have any other things you'd like us to try and do before the end of this year to move you further along with your engaging with your board. So we're open to any suggestions and thoughts you might have.
Thank you very much, Meredith. Do we have any public comments, first of all, on this item? Looks like we do not. So, council, have any questions or comments you'd like to make on this item? Yes, Councilmember Hefner.
I just have one question, which is maybe a comment. When we first implemented the rules of procedure, I had heard some sort of informal feedback or maybe confusion around certain items in the rules. One of them I remember was the sort of rotating chair duties and vice chair duties every year. Just wondering, has there been any process to sort of collect feedback from the boards on whether the rules of procedure are working, whether they're comfortable with the rules, whether it's something we need to look at again?
In that specific case, I asked that board if they wanted to give us some suggestions for changes, and I did not get anything back from them yet. So, we'd be amenable to changes. Obviously, you guys would have to approve all of those, but as far as I've heard, I've not gotten any specific requests for changes to date.
Good. Is there, without creating a lot of burden, is there a way to just have a sort of informal check-in at some point with the boards as to whether the new rules are working?
Yes, that's certainly something we can do.
I'm just mindful we sort of handed down to each board what we think their rules should be, and uniformity is a good thing, but I want to make sure it's a two-way street of communication.
We're also hoping to update each board's bylaws this year because it's been a while, and that would be another chance to look at how the rules are affecting their bylaws and if there's things that make sense to change.
Thank you.
So.
Other comments? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I think just generally want to state that I'm excited that we're working on this. Just worth repeating that we have these incredible boards and commissions just full of talented, in a lot of examples, experts in the areas in which they volunteer for. So having that connection between us and those boards is important and valuable, and I'm glad that we're taking some steps, and obviously we have a lot of work to do to make this a consistent improvement over time. So kind of just a general comment that I'm happy we're doing this. I think there has been some progress, and I'm excited to get continual feedback on how we can improve in this engagement and how much is too much or too little. And as Councilmember Hefner said, if the rules that we're considering or applying are working. So looking forward to hearing more from everybody in the future.
Other comments? For my part, I just want to say thank you to Meredith and other staff who've had any hand in working on this, which would be virtually all the directors and all the departments, because a lot of them have connected boards and commissions that they work with. I echo the comments of the Mayor Pro Tem about how important the members are of these boards and commissions. We take that responsibility, I think, very, very seriously and always have, and I think we'll continue to do that. And just, it's I don't know, what do they sometimes call it, an embarrassment of riches to see all of the people who apply for our boards and commissions. A lot of cities don't have that kind of civic participation. They really struggle to put people on boards, to find enough people to fill that out, and we're just really fortunate. But this was a heavy lift for staff because there were a lot of different sorts of processes that were followed by different boards and commissions. Things weren't uniform there, and that just causes a lot of confusion and just suggestions that, gee, why do we have to do it this way when this board, or maybe it's called a commission, or maybe it's called even something else, isn't doing it that way. And so trying to get some uniformity without sacrificing the reason why people want to join those boards, and you don't want to discourage people coming forward and participating. So thank you for all of staff and all the boards and commissions for providing input and bringing this forward. I think the suggestions that have been made are sufficient, so I don't have anything further. And I appreciate the report. I don't know that we have any more direction than that for right now. And will you come back to us at some point with a follow-up?
We certainly can.
Okay. Might be good before we select the next year's crop of members of boards and commissions. Thank you very much. Okay, city attorney's report.
I have no report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Council comments, committee reports, and identification of future agenda items. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just want to report on the Economic Vitality Committee. We've been doing a lot of business beat meetings and meeting with a lot of different business owners. It's been fantastic. Outside of our regularly scheduled EVC meeting, and those have gone really well. We've got a lot of input from businesses. But I just did want to let people know we are canceling next Friday's EVC meeting, so that will not occur, or just our regular July EVC meeting. But we will have our July one, and we still have other sort of EVC gatherings between now and that meeting, but just wanted to get that on the record. Yeah, Friday, July 19th, we're going to cancel that meeting.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Other comments about the future agenda items? I have one. This is sort of apropos of our own bandwidth and staff, just staffing issues and our own work plan and the many things that we've got coming in short order, which would include a search for a new city manager, comp plan, the budget, which is huge, and potentially some action on Red Tail Ridge. So I guess for, I'm sort of looking at pain points because we're all trying to figure out how the agendas are going to work. We're getting ready to go into the budget cycle, and there's going to be some difficult decisions there and meetings and so forth. And, knowing how things have been, we've had additional meetings that we've had to schedule that were not things that we anticipated. I want to make sure that, and I think all of us do, that staff has got the resources that it needs, and that we have a system that is moving through items, particularly in planning, which has got a huge lift this year. I know that most of us have seen the Chamber of Commerce's notice about some alleged slowdowns in connection with the Red Tail Ridge matter, and I understood that this set of issues on, we dealt with this issue back in, or with Red Tail Ridge last in council in February, I think, and did the preliminary plat, and then I think we have a final
Mayor,
plat.
could I interrupt you for just a moment?
Oh.
If this is an item on Red Tail Ridge, I'm going to recuse myself for the
Please.
Same conflict of interest I described before.
Sorry about that.
And Mayor, this wasn't noticed on the agenda for further discussion, so I guess if you would just keep that in mind with your additional comments.
I will do that. What I'm looking for is if there are matters that should come before council that need to be escalated in order to make sure that we are able to do things timely and appropriately with respect to that and any other matters coming through the pipeline in planning, please let us know. Okay. And when is the next time that we think we're going to hear from? Do we have any sense of the timing of that?
Timing of the final plat hearing for Red Tail Ridge. We don't have an exact date, but we've certainly been talking with the applicant about potential dates coming up as soon as possible. So there's, I think from a staff point of view, we've been working with them consistently, both the engineering department and the planning department for some time. And as soon as we have what we feel is a complete application with all the necessary materials, that we will schedule that hearing. The applicant is aware that, we'll bring it forward as soon as we possibly can.
If there are any general resources that are needed for that or any other planning or other matters, I know the acting city manager will hopefully tell us and let us know.
She will.
Okay. Because we want things to continue to keep moving. Is there anything else from council on future agenda items? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.